Take a breath, a real one, the kind that reaches the bottom of the lungs, the kind you haven't been taking for a while without realizing you weren't. There is something releasing in you today, something that has been held without your full awareness of how long it had been held, something that the body knows before the mind catches up to it. The specific sensation of a tension easing that you had normalized as your baseline. The feeling, arriving quietly in the middle of an otherwise ordinary morning, that something which has been still for a very long time has just moved. You have been carrying a held breath. Not just today, not just this week. For months, possibly for the entirety of the last several years. A specific quality of internal bracing that became so familiar, you stopped experiencing it as bracing and started experiencing it as simply how things feel. The sense of reaching towards something that was approaching, but not arriving. Of preparing for something that was clearly on its way, but kept finding the path not quite available. Of living in the slight, persistent, almost their quality of a life that was pointed at something that had not yet fully materialized. That feeling is different today. Not because everything has visibly changed, because something underlying everything has just changed. The architecture, the ground rules, the specific energetic structure that was determining what could and couldn't reach you has just shifted in the most significant way it has shifted in approximately 80 years. Uranus entered Gemini today. And what that means for your actual daily lived experience of being alive in this moment is what the next 10 minutes is going to tell you. Let the magnitude of what happened this morning land before we discuss what it means practically. Uranus has not been in Gemini since the mid-1940s. Roughly 80 years. Not a regular transit, not the kind of astrological event that recurs in a human lifetime in a way that becomes familiar. This is once-in-a-lifetime cosmic territory. The planet of liberation, revolution, and radical change has just entered the sign that governs communication, connection, learning, the movement of ideas between people, and the deep human capacity to think and express and meet and be genuinely met in the specific, irreplaceable signature of one individual mind encountering another. The last time Uranus was in Gemini, it produced one of the most significant revolutions in human communication in recorded history. The technologies and systems that emerged in that period were the seeds of what eventually connected every human being on Earth to every other through instantaneous information exchange. That was Uranus in Gemini in the mid-20th century, the hardware revolution. Now Uranus returns, and returns into a world where the hardware is already in place, which means the revolution this time is something different. It is not the wires. It is the human beings on the ends of them. It is the quality of what travels through the network. It is the liberation of human expression, human connection, human communication from the specific, Taurus-era gravity that has been limiting what could travel and land and take root for the last 7 years. This is what started today. A 7-year liberation of everything in your life that is governed by communication and connection and expression and the specific, precious, yours alone quality of how your mind meets the world. This is what you woke up inside of this morning. This is the architecture that has just changed. Under Uranus and Taurus, the 7 years that just completed, the energetic rules were Taurian. Slow, heavy material, resistant to the kind of fast-moving, electric, connection across distance quality that Gemini traffics in. Taurus is the earth under your feet. Stable, foundational, deeply valuable for what it builds, but constitutionally resistant to the kind of rapid, sudden, signal travels instantly quality of change that Uranian energy produces most powerfully when it has Gemini's air and speed behind it. During the Taurus years, certain things simply could not move. Not because they were not meant for you. Not because they were not real. Not because you were doing something wrong or failing to attract them with sufficient consistency or faith. But because the energetic architecture genuinely did not support their arrival. The connections that were meant to happen could not find their timing. The channel that would have needed to be clear was filled with the Taurian gravity that slows everything, that makes the organic and the gradual the only available modes, that cannot accommodate the sudden electric recognition of mind meeting mind across the kind of distance and speed that Gemini makes natural. The opportunities that existed somewhere but had no path to land, they were real. The door that you have been standing in front of, feeling but not opening, it was there. The version of your life in which your specific way of thinking and expressing and connecting was genuinely, fully received by the people meant to receive it. That version was real. It simply could not arrive through the architecture that was in place. It was waiting, as you were waiting, for the architecture to change. Today the architecture changed. The Taurus gravity has released its hold on the specific territories of communication and connection and expression. The channel is clear. The path is open. The things that had no route to land have a route now. And the route, in typical Uranian fashion, is not the gradual, step-by-step, organic growth route of the Taurus era. It is the sudden, electric, appears from a direction you weren't watching route that Uranus in Gemini specializes in. What is now on its way is moving with the first momentum of a dam that has just opened. The energy that was held, yours and the energy of everything that was moving toward you, is now flowing freely through channels that were not available yesterday. And the specific things that kept almost arriving but never fully landing are now approaching through pathways that exist today in a way they did not exist yesterday. The person, the connection, the relationship that could never quite find its timing through the old architecture. Today's architecture is built for exactly that kind of sudden, unexpected, feels like fate contact. The collaboration that was circling your life without finding the entry point. Today the entry points multiply. The creative work that was assembling itself in the preparation zone without finding the form or the channel through which it could be shared and received. Today the channel opens. The specific opportunity that kept appearing in your awareness as possible, but never materialized as present. The one that would require your voice, your ideas, your particular way of communicating and connecting to reach people who are ready to receive them. That opportunity is not theoretical today. It is in motion. The energetic support for it arriving in actual circumstances is not something that will build gradually over the coming months. It is available now, today, in the first hours of a transit that is bringing with it the most radical realignment of what is communicatively and connectionally possible that this generation has experienced. What you have been calling in, through the longing, through the vision, through the patient, tired, faithful keeping open of the last several years, is not waiting anymore. It has a clear path. Today is the day the signal gets through. Uranus enters a sign once in roughly 84 years. The day of ingress, today, is the first day of a 7-year wave. And the people who are conscious and open on the first day of that wave, who meet the new energy with the quality of genuine receptivity, who are not still oriented toward the old architecture because they understand that the old architecture just ended, those people receive the first movement of what this transit makes possible. The first movement of a Uranian wave is the most electric, the most sudden, the most genuinely surprising in the best possible sense. The arrival that comes from a direction that was not on the map because the map was drawn under the old architecture and the new architecture has opened territories that weren't on it. The connection made today, or in the immediate days following today, that carries the specific quality of Uranian recognition. The this is new but feels like fate quality. The I didn't see this coming but I can't imagine my life without it quality. That connection is a first wave Uranus in Gemini arrival. Not the kind to approach cautiously. The kind to meet with the full, open, both hands quality of someone who has been waiting for exactly this frequency of contact. The person who is distracted today, who moves through the first day of Uranus in Gemini without the quality of presence that recognizes the significance of what just shifted, does not lose the 7 years. Uranus in Gemini will continue its work regardless. But they miss the first wave, the initial, most concentrated, most electric movement of energy through the newly opened channels. And the first wave of a generational transit carries its own specific quality of possibility that the later waves, while still significant, do not precisely replicate. Be here. Be present. Not in the managed, slightly effortful quality of presence you have been practicing during the long Taurus years. In the alive, electric, genuinely available quality of presence that Gemini demands and rewards. Let yourself be reachable. Let yourself be findable by what is now able to find you. The wait is over. I want you to let that land, not as a phrase, but as an actual felt shift in how you are holding today. The specific quality of internally bracing for continued waiting that has been your operational state for the last several years is no longer the appropriate response to the conditions you are living in. The conditions have changed. Fundamentally. Today, what could not reach you before has a clear path now. The specific things that were held by the old architecture, the connections, the creative opportunities, the collaborations, the version of your life in which your voice reaches the people it was always supposed to reach, those things are not held anymore. The architecture that held them just released. And what follows a release is movement. The movement is happening now. Stay open today in every area of your life. In the specific conversations you find yourself in, notice what is different about their quality. In the ideas that arrive, notice which ones feel like they are coming from a new direction, touching a new territory, reaching for a new form of expression. In the people who appear, notice which ones carry that specific, electric, feels like fate but just arrived quality that Uranian contacts always have. In the creative impulse, in the professional opportunity, in the sense of your own voice and what it wants to say, notice where the old gravity has just lifted, and there is suddenly room to speak from a place that the old container would not have held. What has been on its way has been waiting as long as you have. It has been in the almost arriving position, building toward this, toward today, toward the opening of the architecture that makes its arrival possible. And it has been patient in the way that things that are genuinely meant for you are patient, not going away, not redirecting to someone else, not giving up. Waiting for the architecture to open, for the channel to clear, for the first day of Uranus in Gemini. That day is today. The channel is clear. The architecture has opened. The path that did not exist yesterday exists now. You have been exhaling since you woke up this morning, whether you consciously knew it or not. The held breath is releasing. The wait is ending. And what is moving through the newly opened channel toward you right now is arriving for the specific, patient, vision-holding, kept-the-faith version of you that survived the 7 years of the old architecture and came out the other side still open. It was always going to arrive. It just needed the channel to be clear. Stay open. It is already on its way. Welcome to Uranus in Gemini.